Hey everybody, this is Brian from the Permanent Record Podcast. Let me start by thanking you for downloading our new episode. This is the 80's Mixtape episode, and we've been pretty excited to get to this one for the last month or so. So excited, in fact, we went out last week and invested in some new equipment and some new microphones. We wanted to make sure that this episode would sound better than any episode yet. We invited our friend Colby Zell to sit in with us. We had a 3-man panel ready to compile a collection of classic 80's tunes for you with brand new microphones, and that's where we hit our snag. It turns out we weren't quite capable of placing our 3 brand new microphones in a good configuration for recording with 3 voices. As a result, we probably have come up with our worst sounding episode. We hope you'll be able to forgive us and to still enjoy it. We did our best to try to edit it and make it sound more listenable. There's a lot of good music in this one and some good conversation, so we hope you can check it out, and we hope you will enjoy it, even considering the audio problems we had that were, kind of just based on the fact that we're learning this as we go. So we hope you enjoy it. Let us know, and we'll talk to you after the theme song.
The Blue Zone Podcast Network presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s. Albums that have earned a permanent place of honor both in our hearts and in our record collection.
Friends, we are back. We're loosened up and we're ready to roll. This is the Permanent Record Podcast. My name is Brian.
And I am Sarah. And we have a special guest with us today.
I'm back, and I'm back, I guess.
All right.
You're better than ever, in my opinion.
If you've listened to this podcast before, you should recognize that voice as that of Colby's.
The super recognizable, oh-so-dulcet tones. No, not really.
It's our friend Colby Zell, friend of the show, and the co-host of our episode last month where we talked about The Fix. Got a lot of good feedback on that episode, so I'm sure people were glad to have you back.
Well, I hope so. I really enjoyed doing that episode, and I think I'm going to really enjoy doing this mixtape episode we've got cooking up right now.
Yeah, we talked about this during the week on Facebook and Twitter. We're doing a very special episode.
Ooh.
Where we are going to compile right before your very eyes, boys and girls, a 1980s mixtape. Why do you have that pencil, Colby?
Well, just in case things get out of control, I can pull out the old number 2 and wind it right back up tight.
All right, so we've been creating mixtapes for a lot of years now, not always on cassette, mixed CDs, mixed playlists.
That's right.
But the rules are basically the same, and it all goes back to something Nick Hornby talks about in his book High Fidelity. He says, I spent hours putting that cassette together. To me, making a mixtape is like writing a letter. There's a lot of erasing and rethinking and starting again. A good compilation tape, like breaking up, is hard to do. You've got to kick off with a corker to hold the attention, and then you've got to go up a notch, or cool it a notch. Oh, and there are loads of rules. But the beautiful thing about the Permanent Record Podcast is that we think rules are made to be broken.
All right,
Well,
that's good.
at least some of us think rules are made to be broken. Some of us will just go right into the rule set like we thought we were supposed to.
I think that means something, and we'll find out more about later. For now.
Yes, well, anyway. So first up is Sarah with her first selection for our 1980s mixtape.
All
Sarah?
right. I can't believe I'm going to be the one to select the corker to kick off this mixtape. But I'm confident that it's a good choice for a first song. So let's give it a listen. The song I've chosen is Come On, Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners. All right. Well, as I was sitting here listening to that sample, I saw a lot of heads bopping around in time with the
we're
music.
grooving.
Yep. I think that seemed like a good sign this was a good song to kick off the tape.
And for some reason, my clothes are filthy now for some reason.
Yeah, and where's your shirt?
This is one of those songs that was definitely one of the big heavy rotation songs on MTV in the 80s. And I can't think of this song without thinking of people wearing nothing but overalls that obviously needed to turn in the washer.
Yeah, I definitely have some notes about that later on when I talk about the video. But let's start off just by talking about the band itself and this album that this song came from. Just give a little history in case you aren't familiar with it.
That sounds good.
All right. This group, of course, is Dexy's Midnight Runners, and this band was formed in 1978 in Birmingham, England. The founding members were Kevin Rowland, who is the singer, and another guy named Kevin, but they called him Al Archer. The name of the band came from the drug Dexedrine, which is kind of an amphetamine, which was really popular at the time. And it gave people energy and allowed them to run all night, which is where the phrase Midnight Runners came from.
So today they would be called Dexy's Red Bull?
Maybe, yeah. Except Red Bull's legal, and I don't know that the Dexedrine was. So anyway, this band, as many bands do in the early years, went through a revolving door of members for several years. By the time their second album, Tu Raye, was recorded in 1982, they were in yet another state of flux, and 13 musicians played on Come On Eileen. It was a crazy number of people, and there's like a lot of overlap there. There were 4 different people playing fiddle, 2 drummers, a guitarist who also played the banjo, a guy who played the tenor saxophone and the flute, and even a trombone player. And that's not everybody.
Wow. Crazy.
This song was released in the UK on June 25th, 1982, and it hit number 1 there. And it also hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart the week of April 23rd, 1983.
Oh, really?
And the reason I mention that because the number 3 song that week was another song that you recently discussed. You have any guesses on what it might have been?
What year was it?
1983, April 23rd.
I pass.
All right.
I'm going to say the number 3 song that week was probably Mr. Roboto by Styx.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it right.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Laser acumen.
Yeah. Really smart. The UK and the US weren't the only places that Come On Eileen hit number 1. It was also number 1 in Australia, Belgium, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, and Switzerland. It was the number 1 song for the year in the UK, and it was number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles for the year of 1983.
It brought the whole world together.
It really did. It's amazing. And it was Best British Single at the 1983 Brit Awards, and it's appeared on a bunch of other charts later on, like the 18th in the 100 Greatest Songs of the 80s, number 3 in the Greatest One-Hit Wonders of All Time. Both of those are VH1 lists. And UK Channel 4 on TV rated it 38th out of the 100 greatest number 1 singles of all time. So it's really got some chops in the popularity category.
You let us off with a corker.
Yeah.
She sure did, Colby.
Yeah. I
sure
think so.
did.
Yeah.
Is this group a one-hit wonder in the UK as well as the US?
Well,
Or do
no,
they have more?
actually, they had a single before this called Gino, and that was back in 1980. And that was really popular in the UK, but I don't think it was even released here. But yeah, in the United States, this is like the only song that really did well for them.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about the specific history on the band and the song and the album.
I love this song. This is always a really good song, even to this day. If you're at a wedding or something, if the DJ puts it on, the dance floor is going to fill up, and people are going to have fun to it. So I've always liked it, but I have to admit, I think I understand maybe 6 or 7% of the lyrics to the song.
100% agreed with you on the understanding what they're singing. But it's funny that you mentioned weddings, because every time I've ever heard this song, because of the dynamics in it and everything like that, I always think of the Isley Brothers Shout.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
It's very, very similar in the regard, particularly
And the bridge.
Particularly if you play it at a party, wedding, reception, whatever, where everybody's a little bit inebriated. People tend to do similar things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a kind of song that gets everybody on the dance floor, gets them excited, and there's, that fun part with that build-up in the middle there, and
right.
People just love that, and they burst out dancing after. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Now, does he say in the beginning of the song, this is what I always sing, I don't know if it's what he's saying, does he sing Poor Old Johnny Ray?
Yeah, and if you remember the video, I know the only thing you guys seem to remember about the video is the dirty overalls, but in the very beginning, they have old black and white photos of the singer, Johnny Ray, and girls lined up at the airport when Johnny Ray was arriving, and they were like swooning over him, like the girls did later with the Beatles. So he was an old-time singer, and so that's what he's singing in the beginning of the song. Poor old Johnny Ray sang his songs upon the rodeo, broke 1,000,000 hearts in mono. Our mothers, they sang along. Who'd blame them?
Wow.
That's the first verse of the song.
I had no clue that's what he said.
Yeah, I know it's not easy to understand him.
I thought they were just eulogizing Johnny Ray because he actually used soap as opposed to them.
No. No. There's a nostalgic section to this song. That was in the first verse. So that's what that's about. I got my hands on the lyrics. I think it must have been in college when we were at the radio station. I probably pulled out the record and was looking at the lyrics on the back. So I've known most of the words to this song for a long time now. I mean, not when it was out on the radio. I didn't know what they were singing, but later on I figured out what they were saying. And yeah, it's interesting. I like the second verse in this song because it's like a really neat story. So let me tell you what the second verse is.
Please do.
Since we obviously don't know what they're singing.
Yep.
These people around here, with their beaten down eyes sunk in smoke-dried faces, so resigned to what their fate is. But not us, no never. Not us, no never. We are far too young and clever. So I read a really great bit about this, an explanation of this song. I found that on Genius.com. Not Lyrics Genius, that one that gave you those really bad
That's a
interpretation of the lyrics.
Quality site.
Yeah, this was Genius.com, and I would have attributed the author, but he wasn't mentioned or she wasn't mentioned. It says, this song rides a wave of working-class nostalgia and youthful pride, with the narrator trying to convince the titular Eileen that by pulling together and embracing music and sex, they'll break out of their crushing hometown and the chains put on them by their parents and the poor economy of the time. In effect, it's the Celtic soul iteration of Born to Run.
Oh.
I thought, yeah, once you know what he's actually saying, I think that fits very well.
That's a similar sentiment that you hear from like Depeche Mode, their days in Basildon, and I guess the early 80s, late 70s was just like a bad time for folks in the UK.
Yeah, I think so. And definitely as evidenced by their clothing. Well, of course, no, that was a constructed look, but Kevin Rowland decided the band needed a special look for this next phase of their career. They had gone through a couple other phases where they dressed in different clothing, and for this one he decided that they should all wear like overalls and coats and look like hobos, basically.
When you mentioned getting the record album out at the radio station, that made me think. The album cover popped into my head.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's actually a pretty iconic 80s album cover, I think.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking. It's not super famous, but I can still picture exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and describe it to me then?
I guess it's Kevin Rowland in his overalls and looking kind of grimy, and he's just sort of sitting on the sidewalk or on the ground with his back up against a wall.
Yep.
And then I think the name of the album is like a poster that's on the wall or something.
Yeah,
like
that's pretty much what it looks like.
Yeah, and he looks on the cover pretty much how you remember him looking in the video.
Yeah, he's dressed in the same outfit, and he's kind of just leaned up against this wall and knees scrunched up against his chest, and he's just kind of looking, I don't know, dejected, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually a very organic sounding song, lots of live instruments, and you don't hear any synths or sequencers, which is you heard a lot of in the early 80s new wave stuff.
The only thing that I'm really kind of focused on for some reason is it's one of these things, as we're doing this thing, everybody introducing their own tracks and us not having a whole lot of preparation for each track.
We're flying them by the seat of our pants, aren't we, Colby?
Totally flying by the seat of our pants. But I was thinking of the fact that my earliest memory of this song, where I can actually remember listening to it in that time frame, I was at a church camp. It was called Camp Nawakwa. It's up here in Pennsylvania, and I think they still do it. There was an actual little dance for the camp members, and it was one of those like really super awkward like preteen type deals where the girls were on one side of the room and the guys were on the other side of the room.
Oh, man.
And Come On Eileen came up. And there were a lot more girls trying to give it a go and actually, dance to the song. But none of the guys, particularly not this particular guy, had the stones to get out there on the dance floor and actually try to move. But I just distinctly remember this song at that particular little get-together.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to mention my personal history with the song because that's something that we do with all the other albums that we discuss. And I did have a memory of this song as well. And I do remember when it came out. I was in about 6th grade when the song was out in this area. And my early memories are from the school bus. Our bus driver would play the radio on the way to school. And I guess I sat close enough to the front of the bus that I could hear the songs. And I remember hearing this on the radio on the bus. And it always made me really happy to hear it. And the only other song I remember from that same time period was one that I didn't like nearly as much, but it was Dirty Laundry by Don Henley.
Who did like that song?
I don't know, but I didn't hear it for a long time. After it was like really popular on the radio, I kind of forgot about it, and I didn't remember it at all until one day I was sitting in Brian's dorm room, and the radio was on. I think it must have been the college station, and this song came on, and I was like, Oh my gosh, I forgot about this song and I loved it and I was so happy to hear it again. So it came back into my life a few years later.
Yeah, it's not really a song that I have any memory of. I think my first memory of it is probably from college. I don't really remember it at the time, or I don't think I listened to it. Not because I didn't like it, I think I just didn't know.
You weren't exposed to it, or you wouldn't have left it on the radio if you heard it, probably.
I might not have, because I still to this day think he sounds sort of like a Muppet when he sings.
Oh, really? I actually think, you'll probably disagree with me here, but I kind of think he sounds like Robert Smith some of the time.
Yeah, kind of.
I could see that comparison.
It's definitely hard to understand, like Robert Smith is sometimes.
I know that Dexy's Midnight Runners output is very highly regarded by critics, especially those first 3 albums or so. But for some reason, and even though I do enjoy the song a lot, it's not anything that I've ever looked into.
Well,
I've just sort of been happy to know this one song.
Yeah, and that's basically how I am with it, too. I don't really know anything else by them, but I don't feel like my life is that much worse off before that.
I also know that the only other thing that I really know about this song is that there was an attempt to bring it back again by a band called Save Ferris.
That's right. Yeah, not too long ago. It's in this millennium anyway.
I think it was the latter half of the 90s. I could be wrong.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe I was wrong there, but when you get old like us, it seems like 5 years was only
true.
Like last week. But.
And I know that Save Ferris, unlike Dexy's Midnight Runners, had a female vocalist. That's the only thing I remember about that.
So she sang "Come On, Eileen"?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Very, very edgy.
Red-haired woman. That's about all I remember about them.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Sarah, for getting us started with a real corker.
I'm happy to do it. I'm glad you guys thought it was a corker.
Yep. I'm up next with track number 2, and this is a song written and performed by someone who we just mentioned a few weeks ago. He was really the breakout star of our Dead or Alive episode when we talked about Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know. This is an early member of not Depeche Mode, of Dead or Alive, who went off to do his own thing, a gentleman known as Mr. Wayne Hussey. This is his band, The Mission. This is the first song I ever heard from them. It's called Deliverance. Ladies and gentlemen, from the album Carved in Sand, that is the number 27 U.S. rock charter and number 6 U.S. alternative chart single Deliverance, and the album Carved in Sand broke the top 10 in the UK and peaked at number 7. Wayne declared that this song was a classic Mission anthem, and I agree, it is indeed their most anthemic song, and I feel that this is the perfect taster for anyone who is curious to get into the Mission. Colby, you look like you have something to say.
Well, I was always a big, I shouldn't say a big fan. I liked this album. One could say that I discovered this album.
Yeah, I would give you credit for discovering it.
And then, I'd always considered The Mission to be one of those cool bands that I had dabbled in for a little while, and I basically forgot about them. And then years later, a good friend of mine took me to a show, and then I found out that this Wayne Hussey guy that created this great album, wonderful song, he was an evil man that treated his roadies horribly.
No. Oh, my goodness.
Not at all true, Colby.
Scandalous. Tell us more.
I remember that concert that evening like it was yesterday, and I've got to say, Wayne was nicer than that guy had any right to expect. The very poor job he was doing behind the scenes of that concert. He should have been fired.
Apparently, the great crime the roadie did was he didn't properly refill the wine that Mr. Hussey was drinking copious amounts of during the show.
Hey, when that bottle of wine is empty, you expect it to be replaced with another bottle of wine.
And he was also extremely irritated at his sound levels. He kept on motioning towards his ears, motioning towards his guitar. He was unhappy pretty much that entire show, as I recall.
Well,
if Wayne's levels aren't right, then we're not going to be able to enjoy the show as much, buddy, because it's not going to be the best show that it could be.
I guess that might be the case.
Wow.
This is my first pick for the mixtape.
Yeah, okay, so based on the Nick Hornby rules, which we aren't necessarily following, would you say that we're kicking it up a notch, or are we dropping it down?
We're dropping it down a little bit.
Okay.
But in terms of, it's been brought to my attention that in terms of
relevance?
Release date, we're kicking it up a bit.
Well, we're definitely kicking it up. As you pointed out, reading the quote from Mr. Hornby, there are rules surrounding mixtapes. Our rules, supposedly, were about creating an 80s mixtape, which this does not actually follow.
Yeah, that's the thing, folks.
Oh, no. What have you done?
I had a very distinct memory of listening to this song in 1989. I would have bet money that this song was released in 1989.
You know what? I actually would too, because I actually remember this song from my freshman year, and in college I remember seeing it on MTV, seeing the performance video.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess it must have been the second half of the semester.
It must have been, because it was indeed released early 1990.
Wow.
So
I would have backed you up on this, even though, I'm not real fond of it.
What was really hilarious is when I thought it had been released in 1990, and then we're going back and forth on it, and Brian pointed out that we were listening to it shortly before I joined the Army.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I decided that it would be good for me to get sort of accustomed to the new haircut that the United States Army was about to give me.
Oh, yeah.
So my good friend Brian was more than willing to be my barber and start taking a clipper to my head.
That's right. And as I recall, I did a very nice job.
And he did a horrible job. But while we were getting a horrible haircut, we were also listening to The Mission.
That's right. You had bought that cassette earlier that day.
Yep.
We'd gone out to the record
so
shop
that's
and you
a
bought
good
this.
personal history story.
Without
Yep.
doubt.
Go with this song.
And I seem to recall, not only was I impressed by the haircut you ended up getting, your first drill sergeant or the first person you talked to when you got off the bus, he was impressed too.
Yeah, we were going through the big queue line that basically results in you getting a lot of stuff from the Army as in addition to a haircut. And as we were going into the barber area, one of the drill sergeants looked at me and he said, "You call that a skate punk haircut?" And I answered my drill sergeant by saying, "No, Sergeant, I call it a mistake." He told me that we were going to correct that mistake, which we did because they immediately shaved everything off of my head.
And
that's awesome.
well, folks, the production on this track is immaculate. It was produced by a man named Tim Palmer. He made his name early on in his career as a mixer. He mixed the song "Died in Your Arms" by Cutting Crew.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And some earlier work by Dead or Alive.
Oh, so
Since
Wayne
then,
already knew him? Do you think that's how they hooked
I
up?
suspect Wayne already did know him, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's gone on to mix a lot of things by a lot of people. Pearl Jam's album 10, The Cure's album Wild Mood Swings, and he also continues to produce. He produced for Tears for Fears, the Elemental album. He produced Tin Machine for David Bowie, and he produced Robert Plant's 80s album Now and Zen.
Wow.
Which I bring up because it's a nice segue into the fact that when I was a younger man into the Mission, I didn't really have the experience with music to know that the Mission really wanted to be Led Zeppelin.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Their previous album to this one was called Children, and that was produced by the bassist from Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones. And reading the lyrics to this song, I have a very limited knowledge of Led Zeppelin even now. Back then I had none, now I have limited. But the lyrics to this song take you into the world of King Arthur.
Oh.
Lady of the Lake, and
right.
There's Fairy Queens, Avalon, and things. I know that Led Zeppelin have songs. I know where they have one where they sing about Gollum.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Tolkien is a nice big reference, but the concept of fantasy stuff is a big Zeppelin trope.
Medieval mythology.
So I think Wayne and his friends were really into Led Zeppelin at this point.
And isn't he in the video for this wearing some kind of like a really hippie-looking shirt?
Yeah, they were very hippies
Yeah.
back then, like long untucked shirts
like
with
flowing
buttons up
hair,
and
he
flowers
had the
and
little round
sunglasses,
glasses.
a
Yeah.
bandana.
Yeah, he was a big hippie-looking guy.
Yep.
I remember that.
So by the late 80s or early 90s, whenever you want to say this song was out, these sort of fantasy-influenced lyrics were not really cool, and the music press really liked pointing out how unhip the band was. But for about 5 years or so, the band could really do no wrong in the UK, and they went from strength to strength, and that culminated with this album. This was really the high point of their career. After this point, the cracks begin to show, and their guitarist Simon Hinkler leaves the band, and then the follow-up is an album called Mask, which kind of falters outside the top 20, and it would be their last record to ever hit the top 40.
Well, that's kind of sad.
It is unfortunate because Mask was actually a pretty good album. It just wasn't as heavy and as goth.
There is something about this that in my brain there's a piece there's a circuit that the Mission exists on the same sort of level to me as Sisters of Mercy, even though their music doesn't sound extremely similar. For some reason, it's filed in that same folder in my brain.
Oh, okay, well, Wayne was actually in Sisters of Mercy for their first album. He wrote like half the songs on that album.
I did not realize that.
Well,
yep. So you
it's a
made
very
good
relevant
comparison.
conclusion. All right. Well, as much as I am not a fan of the Mission, we joke about that, and that's why you were kind of having a laugh when you got to pick this song as the mixtape. This is probably one of my favorite Mission songs, and
That's understandable.
And I think that's probably true for most of the world that
Right.
knows any Mission songs. This would be the one that they would kind of go to.
Well, the time that Brian and I saw them live, we had a gentleman standing just a few feet away from us who was extremely excited to hear them play this song live.
He certainly was.
Oh, yeah?
Lots of throwing his arms up in the air and
okay.
full body dry heaves to the rhythm of the music.
And he also shouted to us in the audience that he was very excited to see them play this song.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't he say, waited my whole life to hear that song?
Wow.
Yep. He was having an extremely big
a big night for him.
An epiphany moment for him.
All
And I
right.
still remember Wayne's response to him. Thank you. I rather enjoyed it myself.
Oh, God. How very British.
Proving my point about what an awful human
Very
being.
British, right there. Yes, well, good. Very nice.
One of the interesting things about this album, Carved in Sand, is the track listing of the album. To this day, Wayne himself hates side 2 of the record, and the problem is that they recorded so many songs for the album, and they could not come to an agreement what should be on the record. So they argued amongst themselves. The producer chimed in with what he thought. The label chimed in, and they just could not come up with a track listing. So what they ultimately did was they invited their fan club to come to the studio, and they played them every single song that they recorded. And the fans said, all right, here's the lineup.
Wow.
So the fans actually did a really good job with side 1. I think side 1 is almost perfect. Side 2, I probably like more than the band does because there are 3 songs on there that I like. But you can feel the energy kind of slip on side 2, and it's not quite as good. And then all the songs that didn't get used on the record actually came out later that year. I think it was in November as a separate album called Grains of Sand, which was a companion album.
All right.
I think that's crazy just to let a bunch of probably teenagers and 20-year-old kids.
Riff-raff.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
not.
probably squatters, probably wearing overalls with no shirt underneath them.
Nothing that disgusting.
I don't know about that. But, I mean, that's not too far removed. It's a little more extreme than what Collective Soul did I think it was in the 90s when they let the fans name the album Blender.
They could have come up with something better.
I agree.
Even though that's a really good record.
Well, okay.
I'm not bad-mouthing the actual
No.
album, but Blender. So the intro to this song is really good, probably one of the best intros of any song ever. It's really long.
We're going to definitely have a big dispute about that.
It draws in the listener like nothing else. The bass is in there. It's really good. The guitar sounds kind of going. Tension builds. It gets louder. DJs, if you want to play this and you have a lot to say, just talk it right up to the vocal. You get 1 minute and 46 seconds to get your message across.
To hit the post.
Yep. The guitar work in this song is so good. It's so crisp, so clear. The riffs are very catchy. It sounds massive. And, it almost has to be a good song for me to have embraced it as much as I did at the time, because evidently I got into this in 1990, which is the year of Violator and the year of the Human League album Romantic. And those were like the 2 things that I was into the most. And those are both very synth-heavy. I think the only real guitar band I listened to at the time was a little bit of The Cult. The guitar still wasn't really my thing yet, but this song and this whole cassette really won me over. I thought this was great.
I'm glad
Thanks for that, Colby.
I'm glad I could bring that to you.
That's right. That's right.
I rather enjoyed it myself.
So you said you were going to disagree with him on the intro.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely going to have some things to say about that later in this particular mixtape, because he said that the intro was the best possible intro you can have. And I'm like,
I think you're going to disagree.
I think one of my picks might just blow this out of the water.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Huh.
I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Craig Adams, the bassist of The Mission, I think he's really good in this song. I never really noticed bass playing unless it's really good or really bad, and it's not bad, so it must be really good. He's an interesting guy. He's played in a bunch of groups, including the Sisters of Mercy. He was in The Cult for a while. He was in a band called Color Sound, which he formed with the lead singer of The Alarm and Billy Duffy, the guitarist from the Cult, and he was in The Alarm for about 6 years. So he's back in The Mission now. So he's been making the rounds with a bunch of really good bands. This song has an extremely catchy melody line, particularly on the chorus. I think even Sarah would have to agree with that. The chorus of this song is easy to get.
It's very easy to sing along with, yes.
Mm-hmm. Incredible vocal performance by Wayne. Sarah probably disagrees, but
well, it's not quite as Wayne-y as some of the other ones that he does later, but it's still Wayne for sure.
Wayne-y. That's
Yeah.
a nice adjective.
I know. That's really my biggest problem with The Mission is how he sings. I just don't like how he
he
sings.
sings like an angel.
Well, then call me a devil worshiper. I don't know. I just don't like how he sings.
Sometimes vocals just rub you the wrong way. I mean, there's voices out there that the masses love, and some people just go, "Oh, I hate that." And
Yeah, I'm not saying
Mr. Hussey and you are not friends.
I'm not saying he's a bad singer. He's certainly a better singer than, I don't know, Johnny Rotten or Lou Reed. I mean, he's melodic. He's got a singing voice, but I don't like how it sounds.
Fair enough.
So Colby mentioned before that we had seen them in concert a few years ago, probably longer ago than we want to admit to. But every 10 years or so, they find their way over to the U.S. They have a new album out now, so I'm hoping that they come over, although right now there's no news about this. But this song is always a highlight of a Mission live performance, and it in all seriousness, it always affects me in a very powerful way. It's not an exaggeration when I say, like, this, seeing this song in concert now twice, it's always one of those moments where, like, music, like, just, like, fills you up and makes you glad to be alive.
That's awesome.
Part of the reason is because I've liked this band for so long, and I think probably part of it also comes from that little bit of teenage thinking that you often have with music, where this is my band because no one else knows them and no one else likes them.
Oh, yeah.
There is nobody else that I know that likes this group other than Colby, and Colby wasn't always around. So to me, they're kind of like even though they're not really, but it's kind of a personal thing. Me and the Mission, we kind of have a personal relationship.
Yeah, and you combine that with the fact that when you're live and you're seeing like 100 people in front of you all being very viscerally affected, but the same song that you feel that way.
You guys like this too. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love everyone
sort of,
here. Yeah.
It's your private little pleasure, and now it's like this shared little culty thing.
That's the great thing about concerts, that shared experience, that you just feel like a part of this community for a brief time, and it's wonderful. I love it.
Yep.
I'm just glad I wasn't at that one.
Oh, ouch. I'm glad Colby was nice enough to join me for that one.
I am too. Thank you, Colby.
It was a great show, except for the meanness of Mr. Hussey.
All
right, Colby. Well, that's all I have for my song. So we're up to the third track on our mixtape, and it's a Colby Zell selection.
All right.
And I think that we're going to go with the Hornby principle of going ahead and lowering the dynamics just a little bit for this particular song, which I think is a great song, but it's definitely an energy level lower than the songs that we've had so far.
Okay.
This song is by an Australian band called The Church, and this was probably their biggest American hit. It was called Under the Milky Way.
Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you were finding. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you were finding.
There's some interesting things about the way that the Church feels about this song for multiple reasons. So the main founder of the Church is a guy named David Kilby. He's their lead vocalist. He's also their bass player. Kilby pretty much is the main writer of all the music and all that kind of stuff. And he has this sort of love-hate relationship with the song. So I was reading a couple of different sources on how they felt about this song, and the one thing was that apparently they had a little bit of success in Australia as a band, but nobody knew anything about the Church over here, really. And when they went to make this album, they flew to LA to work with these top-end producers, and they spent a ridiculous amount of money producing this album by the terms of the time. So shortly after, there was all these accolades for this particular song. Like there was awards. There was a 1989. I don't know exactly. It's some sort of an Australian music award. It's called the ARIA, but it was the Music Awards Single of the Year in 1989. Kilby refused to attend.
Wow.
Okay. He said he didn't give a about the award.
Wow.
All right.
He considered the production expense ridiculous, and after they spent all this money on this production, he thought that it was flat and lifeless.
Oh, wow.
Which is exactly the opposite of whatever drew me into this song. It's called Under the Milky Way, and the basis was that there was a place that he used to go to in Amsterdam that was like this sort of collective, it was one building, but there was like an art store, a coffee shop, a movie theater. There was all of these like places to go hang out and then talk to people afterward and stuff, and it was called the Melkweg, or the Milky Way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's neat. So it wasn't about the actual Milky Way?
Right. It was about this sort of artsy little place in Amsterdam. And it was a renovated factory building that hosted all this stuff. So it was like kind of run down, but there was all this like creativity and ideas being happening under there. And that's the sort of the inspiration behind it.
Oh, I like that. That's really cool.
But as much as he said it was flat and lifeless, it was their biggest hit ever. It peaked for us on Billboard's Hot 100. It peaked at 24 in June of 1988. It's got some interesting musical qualities. There's the solo, if you listen to the solo in this song, it sounds almost like bagpipes.
Yeah,
I
always
thought it was bagpipes.
A lot of people do. The way that they made that sound, it was a Fender Jazzmaster played with an EBow.
Oh, really?
Wow, that's crazy.
That weird little device. And then it was recorded on a synclavier. So they had all these like levels of craziness to get to that bagpipe sound. But it's just a guitar.
Well, I guess if you don't know how to play the bagpipes, which what are the odds, that was like the best way to replicate that sound. That's really neat.
The main song is played with a 12-string guitar to create that sort of surreal, like dreamy effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sort of think they get some of that effects across somehow with just the chords that they chose. Like
Yeah. I don't know what those chords are,
I know,
but
but
they're
they're
very different.
We actually do know what those chords are because this song was attempted to be covered by a little group called Eric Bloodaxe.
I have that in my notes here as the definitive version of this song was performed by the group Eric Black.
I forgot that. Oh, yes, you did, guys. You tried to do
And
this.
while I was one of the guitarists, I put that in quotes, of that group, I can no longer remember what chords they were. I seem to recall that maybe one of these chords was like an F sharp minor or something.
Wow.
They were, they weren't your
Complicated.
G's and D's and everything.
Yeah.
But
We had some problems originally trying to get this together and making it sound fluid because it wasn't your normal progression.
yeah, but it sounds so good.
Actually, this is lyrically one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh, really?
Wow, okay.
There's something about the way that the dreamy quality of the music of this and the way his vocals are basically saying things like, I wish I knew what you were looking for. And in the middle of that sort of dreamy quality to this thing, it just sounds so just cool. It just makes you think it can apply to so many different things that, like, at different times that I've listened to this song in my life, it's had totally different meanings for me.
Oh, that's
And that's
interesting.
one of the reasons why I think it's so cool.
Oh, yeah. When a song can evolve with you.
Right.
And give it different meanings as you have different experiences in your life. That's really great.
And like many of the songs that I really took an interest into in the 80s, I discovered this on MTV. It was a black and white video. I mean, there was Kilby's face, like filling it up in this black and white, like not quite like the Aha black and white with like the scribblings and stuff like that, but like a soft filter. And I don't know. I saw this thing. And it was probably like on 120 Minutes or something alternative.
Sure.
But I saw this once and I was like, I got to go get this. And the rest of the album is good. But this song is like definitive.
Yeah. Sometimes I have trouble getting through this whole album. I do like this song is awesome. I also like the song Reptile.
Right.
That's a really good song. But some of the other stuff is I just sort of like.
I understand that.
No, I was kind of shocked to hear you say that this song is about that specific venue, that artsy kind of place. I guess just because of Under the Milky Way, it makes you think of laying down, looking up at the stars. I've always been impressed by like the picture that they paint for you musically, the sounds of those chords and the quality of the sound, the way it's produced, and it just makes you think of like the night sky. Like I've always I've never had any problem picturing that just from listening to this music.
No.
So I'm kind of shocked to hear that that's not even what it's
about
at all.
A bunch of
that's
old buildings.
That goes back to what I was saying about multiple applications for these lyrics. I mean, just because that's the part of his head that created this music was about this establishment that had all these little creative shops, and the fact that when you listen to it, not knowing that, you're thinking of the night sky. That's why I think these lyrics are so cool. Mm-hmm. Like, even when you know what the inside story is, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you have a different sort of take on it, it doesn't really take away from that original feel of, like, being out in the middle of a field somewhere and like trying to figure stuff out. I don't know. That's the way this song sort of strikes me.
I can see that.
I'm not surprised by your story. You mentioned that story about the singer not wanting to go get that award. It sounds like he's maybe a little difficult. I wasn't surprised to hear that because I have a friend who's really into the church, and he gave me some of their CDs to listen to in the past couple of years. So I've actually been exposed to more of their music recently than probably ever in my life. But when they came around last year or the year before, I think they were touring with the Psychedelic Furs, I asked him if he was going to see them, and he said he wasn't going to because even though he loves them, there was a guitarist, I think, who left the band maybe in the past 5 years, and he said, so-and-so is gone. Now, what's that guy's name again?
Dave Kilby.
Dave Kilby is pretty much running the whole thing, and he rolled his eyes. And he said, I don't think I'm going to bother to go.
Oh, wow.
So even someone who's like, it's one of their favorite bands, but he's turning down the chance to go see him because of some qualities of this guy's personality that's turning him off.
Well, I mean, just reading up on different things he said about this particular song, it always strikes me like when an actor gets famous for like some cheesy like sitcom or something like that, and then even Harrison Ford for a while he would kind of not really be willing to talk about being Han Solo because he was like, that's beneath me. But let's talk about my next Indiana Jones venture, as if that's any more,
that's so much higher class.
So, like, I've always considered that to be stupid when something like makes your name, and then you poo-poo it. But like, I read one article where he was being a little bit more lighthearted, and he was talking about how people are constantly coming up to him to endorse something for that song to be used for. And actually, it wasn't that long ago; it was used in a car commercial.
Was it out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly which. But he said that he signs off anytime anybody wants to use it for anything. He's like, I don't care what it does. It can go run off and just earn money. And he was like, some of my other songs are unhappy with me because he said something about some of my other songs are unhappy with me. And I said, well, go out and earn like that one. So it's like he doesn't, he acts on one side that he doesn't like it at all. But on the other side, he's very happy that it's earning money for him. So
Sounds a little conflicting.
Hey, what was their song? You said that this was their first real big song, but they did have that one hit.
Yep.
Before this,
before this or after this?
Metropolis was a hit after this. But what was that one song that was on an earlier album?
You are putting me on the spot, and I'm going to fail.
You had the tape.
Oh, I had a lot of their stuff, but if you're asking me to remember,
Unguarded Moment.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Is
my
that a
gosh!
song?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very pretty song.
That is a really cool song.
Yeah. Good call. Good.
That was a good. That was a good track
Good
too.
save.
I guess it just wasn't as
I
popular.
think the album is called Heart.
I think it has. I know it has a heart on the. It's like a baby blue
Yeah, it's like.
cover with a drawing of a heart, maybe. Yeah.
Wow, I feel terrible that I failed that quiz.
Well, I put you on the spot as revenge for you pointing out that my first song is from the 90s.
All right.
Well, that's my slightly lower energy, but I think it's a really good song.
Oh yeah,
I
agree.
love that
Always
song,
liked
and
the
it was a great opportunity to bring up Eric Bloodaxe.
song. Spectacular.
I'm sure lots of the Eric Bloodaxe fans are going to rejoice. Oh, there are none. Never mind.
Oh, that's too bad. All right, so we're back to the head of the table, and there sits Sarah with
my
her
gosh.
second track.
That's right. It's up to me again. All right. Well, I hope I can come through again like I did with my first song. My second choice is another basically one-hit wonder, definitely for the Americans, not so much for the UK, but the band is Scritti Politti, and the song is Perfect Way. All right, so that's my song, my second choice, and I guess I should reveal that before we started this podcast, we did all get together and listen to each other's songs so we could be a little more prepared. It wasn't going to be quite as improv as it would have been. And as soon as I revealed this was my choice, the two of you guys, Colby and Brian, just started bursting out laughing that you couldn't believe that I picked this song. And now I need to know what is making you laugh and why do you keep looking at each other and winking and nodding. And there's something going on here and I need to know now.
So yesterday I had some time to talk to Brian and I was relating a story. There was a part of me that worried that some of my picks might not be super palatable to everybody, so I was running them by my girlfriend. Now, my girlfriend is considerably younger and not all that familiar with 80s music, and so I was running her by my three tracks just so that I could get a feel for somebody that wouldn't know them at all. And she listened to these tracks as we were going somewhere last night, and she was like, no, I kind of like them. And I had First Wave on the radio after I played this stuff on the way back, and the song that came on was Scritti Politti's Perfect Way. And Laura's reaction was, oh, I'm glad that's not what you picked. Well,
all right.
And then I joined in on the on the pile-on, and I was
Oh, wow.
I was saying that I always thought that including them in alternative music was not in my imagination of what I consider alternative.
Yeah.
it is.
Sometimes those choices that they make on First Wave, things that they consider alternative, I don't agree with.
Right.
Yeah, this week, for instance, 3 different days I heard "Miss Me Blind" by Culture Club
On
First
First Wave.
On First Wave, yeah, and
No.
I love that song.
Yeah,
but
it's like you're happy to hear it, but it's like this isn't the
That's
right place
right.
for
Yeah.
this song. No,
That's
and
pretty
I would,
far from alternative.
And I would actually agree that they shouldn't be playing it on First Wave either. This is not a First Wave type of song. This is not alternative by any means. It's very, very
I don't mind
commercial.
hearing it though. On
Oh,
Thursday.
no.
If they played it, I'll leave it on because I
Oh,
do like this song.
Me too. I
I've
would
always-
probably put it on
I was telling
Sleep
Brian
Alert.
this yesterday as well.
Oh no.
When I was, because I mean, I didn't know it was your pick, so I'm beating
Nope.
up on Perfect Way with Brian
That's
because
okay.
it was just funny. But number one, to me, the guy sounds like this crazy mix between El DeBarge and Michael Jackson,
I can totally get that.
and which makes me think further that it should have been like if Short Circuit's soundtrack should have had this song on it.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But
So
those are my impressions of this.
yeah,
song.
well, that's an interesting take on how he sounds, and I can kind of guess maybe why he does sound like that to you. This band has a very interesting history. It was formed in 1977 in Leeds, England, by this guy named Green Gartside, and his original name was Paul Julian Strohmeyer. But his father died when he was young. His mother remarried. He took his new father's name, his stepfather's name, Gartside. But then there was, I think, 2 or 3 Pauls in his class, so he decided to change his name, and he just went with something really offbeat. He went with Green. So he's known as Green Gartside now. But the band, when it started, was a Marxist post-punk band. Very...
What?
Yeah, it was very much based in the literature of like Italian writers and all kinds of philosophers, and very, indie and not at all commercial. And they were in that mode for quite some time. They started touring, and then he collapsed on stage. Green Gartside did, and during a show. And they thought it was a heart attack at first, but it turned out it was a panic attack. And so he was put away for a while. He had to rest for like 9 months. And during that time, he started like rethinking his life and thinking about what the music they were listening to and making, and the philosophies of the Marxists and all this stuff. And he basically just was like, yeah, I'm not into this anymore. Because they were like, the indie rock scene is usually like a bunch of guys living in these horrible little places and passing around cassette tapes with each other and not really ever going anywhere. And he was just tired of that. And he started listening to things like Aretha Franklin and soul music and stuff, so kind of like the R&B music. And so for you to compare him to kind of like R&B singers, is not too far off the mark from what I think he eventually was trying to accomplish.
And the follow-up to this song was was it about Aretha Franklin?
Yeah, that's right.
Would-Be's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Would-Be's. Yeah, and he was trying to explain his fascination with how she sang the song Save a Little Prayer and how much that moved him, and he's like, I'm trying to put this into just a 3-minute song, and that's what he did. So this album came out in 1985. This was their second album. It was called Cupid and Psyche 85, and this is their biggest album in the UK and even in the US. This song though was not as popular in the UK because this was their 5th single off the album.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding you. They had 4 other singles off this album before Perfect Way even came out in the United Kingdom.
I shudder to think.
I have that on vinyl. I'm not sure how you could pick 4 songs off that record to release to the radio.
Let's see. They were Hypnotize, Would-Be's, The Word Girl,
Yep.
and I'm drawing a blank on what the other one was.
That's crazy to me.
But yeah, and so by the time this came out, I think the UK was a little tired of Scritti Politti, and it only went to 48 there. But
And this was the debut single in America?
this was the only single. Well,
No, Would-Be's
oh no,
had a
I'm
release.
sorry, Would-Be's. Yeah, it was the first one off of there. And it became a surprise hit, and it went up to number 11. It didn't quite get to the top 10, but it hit number 11 in December of 1985. It had been on the charts for 25 weeks by that point, so it was
wow.
half the year it was in the rotation. So that's why I remember it. It also reached number 6 on the Billboard dance chart. It was a big dance song.
Oh, it's a good dance song.
Oh yeah,
I still remember buying this on vinyl with my mom at Kmart.
really?
Yep, it was like on sale one day. It was like $5.99 or something. I was like, Mom, this is that album with Perfect Way on it.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, since it's on sale, you can get it if you want it. So I took it home, and that was really like the only song I liked on it.
Okay.
I've had a bad history of buying Scritti Politti albums. Just a few years ago, like in this century, I bought an album that I read. It was their new album. It's really good. It's only available as an import, and it was called like Warm Beer and Brown Bread.
Oh yeah.
That didn't have one good song on it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that name in the research I was doing, but I didn't know anything about it.
I sold that one on eBay.
Yeah, I'm not in any way, shape, or form a Scritti Politti fan.
Well, it is definitely not in your wheelhouse.
Not my thing. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I distinctly remember hearing this song on the radio and telling my family at the time. My family is still my family, but at the time, I told them. I said, this is my favorite song of the 80s.
Oh,
and
wow.
I said that in 1985, knowing full well there were several years of the 80s left, but I was just convinced that there was not going to be a better song that I would like any more than this one. So
strong words.
I know, really. I was like, I was a very defiant and stuck in my ways teenager. I knew what I was talking about. But, would I still say that now? It's a tough question, but I do really think that this is one of the best examples of 80s synth pop that you will ever find out there. I really do. I think this is just a great song, that it has all the little crazy keyboard sounds in it and strange words and strange lyrics and strange singing, because you can hardly understand what he's saying, and that's very common in 80s songs.
It's very common amongst your choices of 80s songs.
There we go.
That's the second one. I may veer from that on my third choice, but yeah. I think I remember hearing this on the radio and the DJ coming on after the fact and saying, I don't know what the heck he was singing. Like, I don't know anything he's saying. So I, of course, had to go and take a look and find out what he's saying and these lyrics, because this one I don't know what he's saying hardly at all. You seem to know, Brian, the words a little better. Is that because you had the album? Did they have the words in it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I just sort of understand some of it. Does it say I took a back seat?
Yes.
A backhander?
Yes.
I took her back to her room.
Yes. Let's see how far you can go with this. I have the first verse here, so let's see how far you can go.
I took a back seat, a backhander. I took her back to her room. I took a page out of my rule
that's the
book
second
for
verse.
you. Darn it.
I better get back to the basics for you.
Okay. Yeah,
I think you would have known that if you thought about it a second.
Doing a good job channeling El DeBarge.
Yeah. You got a conscience.
Who's Johnny, she
Oh,
said.
jeez. Yeah, you know what? That's okay. You could probably mix those two songs together and probably get a really interesting mashup. But the next after that is, you got a conscience, compassion. You got a way with the word. You got a heart full of complacency, too. I would really like to hear William Shatner do these lyrics.
Shatner would do an
recite
incredible
these.
job
I
with
really
this.
think he could
I think I'd
really,
like it.
Yeah. But they go on. I'm just going to throw a few more out here because they're so odd. I don't know what he's saying. I mean, I do know what he's saying, but I don't know what he's trying to convey. I don't have a purpose, omission. I'm empty by definition. I got a lack, girl, that you love to be. You want a diva, a deduction. You want to do what they do. Want to do damage that you can undo. That's sort of trying to channel Shatner there a little. But yeah, I laugh at this because it's like Duran Duran. There's so many of their songs that it's like, what are they saying?
Right.
What are they trying to convey here?
They're words that sound cool together,
Yeah.
but that you're not sure.
And
what
that's,
they're
I
about.
think, really what's going on here, too. Because I think some of his other songs are very intellectual, but I don't know enough about them. But it's like funny to me that they make no sense.
I do like the song quite a bit. I like it a lot, but I don't think it's a great example of synth pop music, like you said, because even though they are synths obviously on there, they're using them to sort of make like a ragtime piano kind of sound with it. It doesn't really sound synthy to me.
Well, there's a whole lot of other songs. There's like definitely a little piano line, especially in the bridge there. But there's so kinds of other little crazy little sampley sounds in there. I can't explain them all, but they use like 5 different Roland keyboards on this album.
Mm-hmm.
They use a Fairlight. They use the Linn drum machine. They've got all the 80s machinery going on in there.
Wasn't Scritti Politti just basically him at this point?
By this point, yeah, it really was. That's why I didn't go into the whole explanation of who was in the band at this time, because it didn't really matter besides him. It was more his vehicle.
Yeah. And here's my last question for you. Because when we were listening to the song earlier, when you revealed your songs and I was supposed to be writing down notes, I spent the entire duration of the song trying to look up how tall he is.
Oh, really?
Online, and I didn't find it because I swear at one point in time I heard that he was like a really big guy, like 6'3" or something like that.
Oh, really?
Did you find that somewhere?
I did not even bother to look that up. I wouldn't have even known to look that up.
Because it's crazy that his voice sounds like that.
Yeah. Well, I did watch the video. Have either of you ever seen the video?
No.
I don't remember if I ever saw it because even if I had, well, it's just one of those videos that's not very memorable. It's a very standard 80s video. He's like partly him in the studio singing and then partly intercut with some grainy pictures of women and black and white and switches around, blah, blah, blah. It is fun to see him playing with his luxurious head of 80s hair. He's got some really fantastic hair going on. But I don't even get a sense of how tall he is.
Right, because there's no one else.
No, he's just kind of by himself there. So
I think I forget where I heard it, but I think I did hear that.
Okay.
That is just...
Well, I have a link from IMDb.
Okay,
right.
you gonna...
And it says that his height is...
4'7", folks.
he's a gnome.
It says his height is 6 foot 6 inches.
Oh, all right. He's got us all beat for sure.
Yep.
How about that?
And he has that voice.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
he has that voice. Well, you know what? It's like kind of like the opposite of Rick Astley, because no one expects a voice like Rick Astley's coming out of a face and a body like that, right?
That's right.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, sorry you didn't have a lot to say about that one, Colby, other than the fact that no one in the car last night liked it.
I've always considered it just to be one of those, for me.
Yeah.
I understand that other people had different views on it, but it just always felt just like generic pop in the 80s to me. Like, I never was affected by it any way whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I understand that. It's definitely more on the commercial side, definitely more on the poppy side than what you definitely listen to. So I get that. But for me, it's still way up there just as a really good 80s song.
Cool. I think that was a fun one to take a listen to.
Oh, good.
So we're up to the last song here on the episode, track number 5 on our mixtape. I'm going to do my best to pull something from the actual decade of the 80s this time around.
That would be nice.
So, something I would like to do over the lifespan of this podcast is talk about every single Depeche Mode album.
Oh, wow.
Because I love Depeche Mode so much. But the problem with that is that on albums like Catching Up with Depeche Mode and Best of Depeche Mode, these are like compilations that have just a few new songs.
Yeah, you'll never really want to talk about them all over again.
Right, and if I just do the albums, I'll never get a chance to cover those songs. So I'm going to take this opportunity to add to the mixtape a track from 1985 by Martin and the Guys. This is called Shake the Disease.
All right.
Here is a plea from my heart to you. Nobody knows me as well as you do. You know how hard it is for me to shake the disease that takes hold of my tongue in situations like these. Understand me. Understand me.
All right, check this out, guys.
All right.
Shake the Disease, number 18 in the UK.
Okay.
Top 10 in Germany, Sweden, Ireland, Switzerland.
Wow.
Number 1 in Poland.
Poland, huh?
In France, it was in the top 50 for 6 months.
Oh,
Peaked
my
at number
gosh.
13. In the US, failed to break the top 100.
Oh, good grief.
Not surprising.
What's wrong with us?
Did, however, reach the top 40 dance chart in the US.
It's no people are people.
Yeah, that's what it has going for it, but that's for another time.
Of course, the radio station that carried a banner for Depeche Mode for years and years and years, K-Rock out in California, they named it the number 1 song of 1985.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So they didn't think Scritti Politti was number 1, huh?
Nope.
All right.
They went with this one.
Okay.
So, Shake the Disease was a stopgap single recorded at the Hansa Studios.
Oh, Hansa. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do the Hansa.
Do the Hansa.
Yeah.
And it appeared with another song called It's Called a Heart as a pair of new tracks on their UK compilation album Depeche Mode Singles 1981 to 85.
Yes, and that has a different title in the United States.
That's right. In the U.S., Sire released a compilation of all the band's singles that to date had not been already released on a compilation in the U.S. because they had an earlier compilation called People Are People.
Correct.
So this has all the singles that are on that one. It has the same artwork, same cover, and they renamed the album here to Catching Up with Depeche Mode, which I always thought was clever because it gives you an opportunity to catch up with Depeche Mode.
Indeed it does. Yeah, and it was kind of a good time period for that just because it was right before their really big breakthrough album, Black Celebration.
Right, and they were coming off of the success of People Are People, which as a youth, I was a little surprised that People Are People wasn't on this album. I didn't understand it, but I didn't know that there was already the other compilation.
Called People Are People.
Yep. Yeah. For this one, you had to get the vinyl back in the day. You wouldn't want to get the cassette because the vinyl, the sleeve on the inside, the record sleeve, it was covered in like small pictures, probably about 70 pictures
of
the band throughout the years at concerts and just goofing off.
Oh, wow.
It was really neat.
You still have that?
I do.
Oh, I'd like to take a look at that sometime.
I'll let you check it out.
Thank you.
So this was recorded between Some Great Reward and Black Celebration, and it doesn't really sound like either of those albums. But what do you guys think? On which album, if you had to put this song on one of the albums, which one would it be more at home on?
I would definitely go Black Celebration.
Oh my gosh, I would actually say the opposite.
It's interesting that we're on the opposite sides of that spectrum, but like, I don't know, to me there's just this tonal Bible, I don't know, it just makes me feel like it belongs on that album.
It seems a little too upbeat to be on Black Celebration, but then again, Not Tonight is on there. So, but I think to have two songs of that kind of vibe would be a little bit much for an album titled Black Celebration. So I think it would be more at home on Some Great Reward.
Well, lucky for you guys, I'm here to break the tie.
Oh, are you? Mm-hmm. All right. You're going to put it on Violator.
Yep, I'm going to consult my notes. Put it on Violator. No. While it's not a perfect fit, I choose to put this song on Black Celebration.
Oh, man. I'm out in the cold here.
Yep.
Putting it on Some Great Reward.
It's just aspects of the song sound a little dated to me, obviously, but I think there is a maturity level to this song that sort of heralds what we're going to hear on Black Celebration.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
I think.
I wasn't trying to connotate that it had the same theme as the rest of that album. I just think that the way that they put it together, like the engineering behind it, feels a little bit more like that than their earlier stuff.
Do you know who produced this? Was this Daniel Miller?
I believe it was.
Okay.
I didn't write it down, but I think this was still Daniel Miller. I wrote in my notes that the instrumental section near the end of the song has an almost but not tonight feel to me.
Yeah, you're right. It does. Okay.
Which is why
I can agree with that.
I went to that album.
All right.
And, contrary to the fact that you can abbreviate this song as STD,
you probably don't want to.
The disease in this song is not any sort of sexually transmitted disease,
not at
guys.
all.
The disease is shyness and the inability to communicate openly and honestly with somebody.
Oh.
I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Sure, that makes sense. Now that you say it, not that I ever really thought it was a real disease, but I appreciate the explanation.
Oh, you're welcome. I was always very impressed with the lyrics to this one. We mentioned on our Music for the Masses podcast that clip that I had heard years ago of Alan Wilder saying, like, lyrics are very important to us, sometimes just as important or more important than the music.
Yeah.
And I think that in this song, this is a case of the words maybe even being a little bit better than the music. The second verse especially, where they say, I've always thought this verse was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Some people have to be permanently together, lovers devoted to each other forever. Now I've got things to do. And I've said before that I know you have too. When I'm not there in spirit, I'll be there.
Yep, I love that too.
I was like, that's pretty cool coming from like a 24-year-old guy. Like, that's pretty astute.
It's very mature.
I love that sentiment. I know it's not an original thought.
No, but
I love how how it's expressed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've always been fond of that verse too.
I've always thought the song was really poetic, but there was something, because of the fact, probably due to the timelines and the maturity of it, I never really quite connected with it. Like, I always liked the way it sounded. I just it never really hit me. You know, like sometimes when you're a kid, you'll like harp in like on some lyrics or something like that, and you're like, oh, that is so me right now.
Yep.
And this just never quite connected with me on that level. You know, and I always liked it. I mean, at this particular point in time, I started really liking Depeche Mode a lot. I mean, technically, I heard this far later than it was released, but when I was listening to all the stuff preceding
to catch
Black
up, so to speak.
Right. But yeah, I always thought it was really, really cool. But it was just one of those things that there was other songs by Depeche Mode generally on the darker end of their spectrum that I was really vibing with, and this song was just one of those songs where I was like, oh, I like it, but it just didn't really like strike me that way.
Yeah, I hear, and I think maybe some of that comes from the fact that it sort of is like a song without a home, like, because it's on a compilation album.
Right.
You really don't ever think of it.
Yeah, you really do have to make a conscious effort. I want to listen to this song. I have to get the specific thing it's on. And
I know with me, like, I always think. I mean, if you mention the song to me, I could sing the whole thing to myself. I know what it sounds like, but I always think to myself, like, yeah, that's a fine song. It's not one of my favorites, but it's fine. But then when I sit down and listen to it, I'm like, no, I really do like this one. I just never think of it.
I think the chords in this and how in the chorus, the chords in that, I don't know what they are, but it's very, very interesting. It's almost jarring, but it's very, very creative, I think.
Musically, like most of the Depeche Mode of this period, it has a lot of interesting sounds in it. They go out of their way to along with the music, add interesting metal scraping on metal and clicks and like in this song, just once did I hear it, but the scissor sound that's in Blasphemous Rumors, it actually shows up here just for one clip.
Oh, okay.
And the bass on this song is very nice. I like the bass. It's probably my favorite part of it. There's a very strong chorus, and I think the accompaniment in the chorus gets a little more urgent than the rest of the song.
Yeah.
And the melody is stronger in that part than I recalled. Here's my question for you, though. I was wondering about this song, why was it so popular everywhere? I know Depeche Mode didn't really have a huge following here at the time, but those chart positions were pretty impressive. And then to hear that it didn't even make the top 100 here in America, the top 100. When this song starts, it's just Martin going, oh. He's kind of whiny.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that if they cut that part out and just began the song with the drums coming in and leave that Martin vocal track in at the end when it's going behind the chorus and the other vocals.
Yep.
But to start the song, the first thing you hear is it just too wimpy for America in 1985?
I don't think that was the problem at all. I mean, well, I'm a little bit more cynical about why songs get going. There wasn't any sort of push for Depeche Mode's niche commercially at the time. People Are People was like a whoops.
Yeah, it really was.
Over here, and then people were like, oh, we're listening to this now. But it wasn't like American fans were all going, oh my gosh, I need more Depeche Mode. If they had been, they would have pushed Shake the Disease like there was no tomorrow, and we would have heard tons of it, and it would have gotten chart time here.
So you think it was more of a marketing issue?
I totally think it was a marketing issue.
Okay.
And there was also the fact that it wasn't packaged, because it was sitting there sort of off on its own. They didn't have an album to sell. So, like, even if it would have taken off as a single...
Well, they had the compilation album.
Right, but I mean, there were songs on that compilation album that have already made the attempt over here. It didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So, like, that's why I'm saying that, like, commercially they were looking at it like, maybe not.
And fans of the band already have most of the songs on the record, so you're going to lose some sales there.
Right.
There's no tour for that album because they're not going to tour for a compilation.
And for whatever reason, at this particular point in time, MTV didn't like Depeche Mode like they liked a lot of British bands. Like,
yeah, true.
At this particular point in time, they just hadn't quite made that transition to being a heavy rotation MTV band, which is what bands needed to make that gap over the Atlantic at the time.
If you weren't hearing it on the radio and you weren't seeing it on MTV, it was pretty much out of your life unless you had some lucky radio station like K-Rock out there charting uncharted territory there for you.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the video, it is a little unfortunate that, like you said, MTV didn't really embrace this and pick it up because as far as Depeche Mode videos go, this is actually probably their best video to date at this point.
Until the Anton era.
Because with a few exceptions, almost all their early videos are relatively terrible.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
People was fine.
Yeah.
Blasphemous Rumors is a live performance video. Master and Servant is a great song, but the video is kind of silly. And anything earlier than that, I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah. Neither do they, probably.
Yeah, but this video I think suffers from the fact that it just by fate was that weird period of time where David Gahan was blonde for some reason.
Yeah, like the whole band. Well, not Alan, but 3/4 of the band was blonde, or at least partly.
But
blonde.
the other two should be blonde. They are. Blonde.
I know, right?
Right.
But all of a sudden Dave is, and it just doesn't work for me, Dave.
Yeah, he looks funny.
It's funny. Sarah had mentioned earlier that before we started the podcast, we all listened to each other's tracks, and Brian showed us the video as opposed to just listening to the audio, and I had forgotten about the video. And it has this really, really, really super cool effect where at different times one of the members of the band is in the front of the other band, and it's looking like he's falling, but it's like a weird photography trick where they're actually turning the rest of the scene behind him.
It strains my brain. I still can't figure out how they accomplish that.
It is complicated
it's a really, really cool
to
effect.
watch.
So my only time, like you were talking about how when Sarah had introduced that she was going to play The Perfect Way by Scritti Politti, you were very much intent on finding out about the height of Green Guard's side.
Yep.
The only thing I was concentrating on was the director of this video.
Oh, okay. All right.
And Peter Kerr is the guy that directed it. And like a lot of MTV directors became like film directors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was just one of the most prolific, high-level video directors in the 80s.
Oh, yeah?
Like, his filmography, when you look at Wikipedia, it's this ridiculous list. There's a couple of movies. There's an episode of 6 Feet Under, the HBO show.
Wow, that's random.
And then this laundry list of music videos that he filmed all the way up until, like, 2004.
Wow.
Crazy. Did he also direct It's Called a Heart?
This list is so long. Yeah, Depeche Mode, It's Called a Heart.
All right.
Be Near Me by ABC.
That's a cool video.
There's, Hypnotized by Scritti Politti.
Oh, how about that?
Oh, no, the aforementioned.
A lot of stuff by Cabaret Voltaire.
Oh, wow.
He filmed with Bananarama, Robbie Neville, Tina Turner, Simply Red, Belinda Carlisle, Los Lobos, Fine Young Cannibals, Richard Marx, Roy Orbison.
No kidding.
Which one?
I Drove All Night.
Oh.
Wow.
Just, I mean, he was pretty much the hot ticket in
He was,
music videos.
he was
for
a
a
busy
while.
guy.
Yeah.
His work on this video was a noticeable step up for
Yeah,
Depeche.
this was the first one where they just didn't seem as ridiculous. I mean, they still kind of look ridiculous, but it's not nearly as bad.
Right.
The one thing that it was making me kind of laugh when I was watching the video is, and he still does it, but David Gahan's head, like when he's singing the songs, like you can tell like a lot of times when they film a music video, the artist is basically sort of attempting to act, but then keeping the lip sync going.
Right.
But they're not obviously putting the effort into the song to make the vocals sound good. They're just making their lips form those motions so that
Right.
it looks like they're singing the song, but they're not necessarily. David Gahan looks like he's really doing a performance, and he's like pushing it forcefully out of his face as he's singing it.
Yeah.
And it's there's something kind of
head's kinda
comical.
jerking.
Yeah.
There's something comical about the way he does it, particularly because he's so very young and very thin and very prominent Adam's apple.
Yeah, he's just, a little kid. It's funny.
So that's a good video. There's no storyline, but a lot of effective
No.
shots and edits and that cool camera effect that you mentioned. My favorite part of the whole video is it's just ridiculous. I would even mention this, but I'm going to.
Okay.
It's like a 1 second shot where Alan Wilder swings a sledgehammer.
Oh, okay.
That just corresponds to a certain percussion
Yeah.
sound, and that's just like a Depeche Mode
Oh, yeah.
thing.
That's so classic.
Working
Depeche
with a
Mode.
sledgehammer,
Yeah.
it puts you in mind of like construction time again. So that's why I
Absolutely.
like it so much.
Yeah. Well, you're
So-
gonna mention the part you like about what Alan does?
What the really fake moment where they're
Yeah.
like taking a stick against a corrugated metal?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a-
for that,
like a metal
for that
rod or
sound that there's like, which like you said when you saw it, there's no way that
That
action
sound.
would create the sound that it's supposed to represent on the
Right.
on the song. But it was
Looks cool, though.
Yeah,
It
did
does look cool.
Did look cool.
So that's a song I was afraid was going to get lost if we cover more Depeche Mode, and I just wanted to add it to the mixtape,
I
guys.
appreciate you doing that. Can
I
we
do
say
like the
one
song a
more
lot.
thing about it?
Sure.
How about Martin's performance of this live a few years ago?
Yeah, I was going to mention that, and then we got past that point in my
Okay.
notes when it was just a piano ballad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was absolutely
It sounded
beautiful.
really good.
Beautiful
Yeah.
song. Sorry you missed that one, Colby.
Sorry.
That one, and I think the tour before after that he did, but not tonight, that same
Oh
style.
yeah.
And that was awesome,
that
too.
was just tremendous.
Martin has a great voice.
He does.
Pretty heavy vibrato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little too much, but
Yeah.
I like that he got away from that on this new album,
Yeah.
Spirit.
Oh, I
Find
wondered
it
if
find
we
it
were gonna-
online or in your local dealer.
I was wondering if we were going to get a
A nice thing about
podcast in without mentioning Spirit this
A
time.
nice thing about that vibrato quality in this song, though, is the fact that it feels a little vulnerable. It feels a little like, and that's what the song is about.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yep,
yeah.
Good call.
Very true.
All right.
So that's the first half of our mixtape, guys. And what we're going to do as our call to action for you, our beloved audience, we mentioned a few weeks ago that we just completely ignore our Twitter account. We're going to put a poll up on our Twitter account.
What?
Yes.
Yes, we are. The 5 songs that we've selected from this episode, we're going to put them up there in a poll, and we're going to ask you to go out and tell us which one of us picked the best song for this mixtape out
This
of the
is
5
so
songs.
unfair.
Colby's at
I
a
know.
disadvantage this week because he only picked
He
one.
is.
But guess what? Next
But
week
if-
he's going to have 2 songs,
That's right.
and we're only going to have 1.
Yeah.
So next week
you'll
will be
have
his time
double
to shine,
the chances
maybe.
next week. And
So go visit us on Twitter.
Please do.
Sarah at the end of the episode will tell you where to find us, but I can tell you right now we're at Perm Record Pod on Twitter. Check it out and vote in our poll of which 80s song on our mixtape is the best.
And if you have any other comments on any of the songs we've chosen, we'd love to hear from you on our Facebook page, on our Twitter account, or even on our website.
We don't want to hear you yell at me for picking a 90s song. though.
I do. I want to
I've-
hear it. I want to hear
I've
it.
heard enough from Colby.
Back it in. Back it in.
So thanks for checking out this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it. And we will be back next week once again with our friend Colby Zell.
Yay.
All right.
And we're going to do 4 more songs for you
Sounds
for
good.
the second half of the mixtape. So enjoy your week, and we will catch you next time around. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Permanent Record. We hope you enjoyed our discussion of this classic album, and we welcome you to share your thoughts on it with us. We can be reached on Facebook at facebook.com/permrecordpodcast, on Twitter at permrecordpod, and online at www.permrecordpodcast.com. Our email is permrecordpodcast@mail.com.
Believe in magic, believe in love.